What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Terminus, and today we're gonna react to Jujutsu Kaisen episode 7. Actually, it has been a pretty long time since I've seen Jujutsu Kaisen episode 6. I don't remember all that much aside from the key points, right? The heart, the revival, But we're gonna get into it in just a minute. Before we do that, I would like for you, if you do like my content, to like and subscribe, to check out my other series, Made in Abyss and 𝐸𝐬𝐏, that are on the channel at the moment. Just look around, see if there's anything you like. I do have a Discord, I do have a Patreon, and I do have, there's two versions of this whole thing here that I'm doing the reaction. There is the edited version right here and the pip in the description down below, so if you want to watch that, go check it out. It's Pixeldrain. Most of the time I do recommend Pixeldrain because Bitchute isn't all that great on like the bit rate and the quality and whatnot. It's still watchable, but you know. Let's just get into it, shall we? Last episode we had Yuji being in the innate domain of Sukuna, which is very interesting. Now we learn what an innate domain is, right? It is the inner representation of yourself within which you have certain powers. Now obviously you're not necessarily omnipotent within there, but innate domain seems to be the ability of a Jujutsu sorcerer or a curse or similar people to use their energy, to use their cursed techniques or cursed powers, or maybe it is a cursed technique, to actually project their inner world out into the world, which kind of reminds me of Fate, for example, with the Noble Phantasms. It reminds me of other series as well. It is a very cool concept to kind of just project your own presence onto the world, and I do assume that probably the more powerful you are as somebody who is able to manipulate curses, the better, or the more powerful, the more impressive your innate domain expansion actually is gonna be. Because you are expanding that domain outside of your own body, and you're wrapping people and things up within it, and actually start to gain the ability to manipulate them to a degree, which is really cool. But we have that confrontation, very much inner self. I do love the whole representation of it, the way it looks, like the skull and the bones of supposedly Yuji in this case just being represented, and Sukuna on a throne of bones, sitting all high and mighty with his chin resting on one arm, just looking down upon Yuji. And they're just squaring off a little bit verbally. We go past the intro. We've analyzed that to a degree. I do like, there's a lot of like skulls, right? Not just Yuji skulls, but there's like, I don't know, bull skulls or whatever that is. Ancient skulls and whatnot. And they're confronting each other, right? Yuji wants to show Sukuna what for, but obviously this is his realm. He has the advantage here, even without the fact that he's a very powerful person to begin with. This little comedic moment where he just fucking kicks him off the bones, sits on him, and Yuji is not very amused about that. And Sukuna actually wants to enforce conditions. He's like, I can come out whenever I want for 1 minute. And this is like very sketchy because he's not limiting the amount of times he can do it. He's just saying, when I say this, I can come out for 1 minute. Well, what stops him from just saying it every minute to just keep coming out? And he's like, you're gonna forget about all of this. And Yuji obviously doesn't want to take the terms, but he's like, all right, you know what, I agree. And then Sukuna gets off of him and he's like, I think I'm stupid. I think I would just agree to this shit. So we do see that Yuji is actually not our kind of mindless protagonist. We have seen that before, but I'm just reiterating it here because the show is reiterating it, that Yuji is actually a clever boy and says, you know, and I ain't letting you just give these conditions to me. But we do know now that this is very common and that we do have a pact, right? A pact where a curse or some kind of like unnatural bad curse being is making a deal with a sorcerer, and the sorcerer can actually use their powers in exchange for whatever conditions they put on that, and they have to actually adhere to that, because otherwise the curse itself is also gonna take damage. At least that is what's coming from Skuna. We don't know that. Right, Skuna is explaining it to us, but we don't have a direct reason. Now, me as the audience, I do think we do have a reason to, at least within the realm of being somewhat careful about it, believe that this is the truth. But also, if I was in Yuji's position, I'd be like, you know, parts of what you say to me might be true, but I can't really trust you to tell me all of the details, and that there isn't a loophole to actually having to fulfill your end of the bargain. And we have a little bit banter and like serious talk between Gojo and how's he called? I just read it. Jichi. And he explains that, yeah, he could just kill the higher-ups, but he feels like the entire organization of like Jujutsu sorcerers kind of got corrupted in a way. Not corrupted in like an evil, bad sense, but more in like a nepotism sense, or in a sense of just being stuck in their ways of thinking and actually applying like morally gray or even morally wrong things in order to get... right, to fulfill their own will. Right, they're so afraid of Skuna that they rather kill a kid that has the ability to take in all the fingers than to actually do what Gojo suggested, which seemed very logical to me, to just gather it all and then kill them, right? That way you can get rid of Skuna altogether. Although maybe since they have been intriguing and fighting from the beginning on, what they fear is that Gojo actually has enough influence over Yuji over time to use him as a weapon against the higher ups and be like, you know, you got like 8 fingers of Skuna now, go, you kill the higher ups with me, right? And then we have like kind of like a that is, I think, might be something that the elders might be afraid of, but Gojo explains that as a result, and since he feels like it wouldn't change anything if he would just kill the higher-ups, what he wants to do is build a new generation of people that actually trust him, that are with him and that share ideals with him, that are strong and that have the right goals and motivations, and to influence them in a way to make them be on his side and go with him if he decides to revolt, or also just don't take shit from the higher ups, right? And we do see all of the people we've met so far. We've seen, I don't know, like Bonito Flakes guy. We see Panda and Senin Senpai. We see Megumi and Nobara, and we even see Yuji here, who is fading out. And he's like he's like the third year Hakari and the second year Okotsu. They are very strong. They're probably going to be as strong as I am later on, and Yuji could have been one of them. And I do feel like this is both coming from the position of these higher-ups are really annoying, frustrating to me, because they keep getting in my way. But and then we do have the second aspect, which is him being like this kind of morally wrong stuff that is really pissing him off. And then we have the third one, which is like, I really like Yuji, and I'm angry and sad that he's dead. I do feel like all of these emotions are coming through from Gojo, at least from my perspective. And we do have him standing up being like, well, this is awkward. And Gojo is... and they immediately, like, you see that they're hitting it off, right? They're really cool. They're already friends, and they're kind of low-key on one wavelength in many of these situations. We do have the instant, we don't have to talk about it, instant high five, being like, all right, you're back, dude. But Gojo, obviously, we realize, we see that later when he talks to Eugene asks him out a little bit, he does know that there might be some conditions on that. I really like this shot. It's really cool looking, very saturated as well. I do wonder if the two of them have something going on, because she seems to trust him a lot. So it's not just him trying to apply his force as a teaching figure and mentor and somebody to look up to, but also maybe to inspire his colleagues and his friends that are about his age, or at least in a similar, like in other branches of the Jujutsu school. We saw her earlier when she came in and met Gojo for like twirling her hair, which for me still is a sign of being interested in somebody, but yeah. And we go back to the restaurant and have this guy who was like super sensitive for curses, which we do see an example of people actually being sensitive to curses, not knowing what it is, right? Not actually outright seeing them, but having bad juju feelings about stuff like that. And you can very easily relate that to actual real life, where you're like, okay, sometimes people have sometimes you just have a bad feeling about a situation, and you're getting yourself out of that, despite the fact that maybe you would, right, be obligated to just take it in that moment and just bite into the sour apple, the proverbial sour apple, and get it done. But in this case, in some cases, right, you have that bad feeling of juju, you walk away from the situation, and later you realize, shit, I did the right thing, because I would be dead, or I would have been in a horrible situation if I didn't walk away here. And sometimes that's not the case, right? Sometimes you have to just push through, and the situation isn't as bad as you thought it would be. But yeah, sometimes you have that sixth sense about something, and he survived just because of that. And we do see the monstrosity of just the curses, because obviously it makes sense. The curses are beings, yes, manifested beings, but they're also... I do still wonder if they're just manifested beings out of negative emotions, or if this is like negative emotions gather and some kind of soul or individual actually takes them in because of the way they died. Because we had that discussion earlier when the president was testing Yuji, and we asked ourselves, hey, you end up cursing your grandfather if you go out like this, and Jujutsu sorcerers rarely die without regret. So I do wonder if there is actually the option, the possibility of a Jujutsu sorcerer turning into a curse after their death, right? Either way, at the moment we're just gonna assume the curses are curses. They're just negative emotions that gathered up and gained their own will. And in this sense, I would say that this kind of curse here is, well, I'd say maybe rage or anger, right? Or maybe something less specific like temperament and all of that, right? All of these negative: rage, anger, hate, right? Because of all this talk that we've done, right, with discriminatory elements, where he's like, we are the real true beings, pure beings, and humans don't deserve that, and we need to take our rightful place. That is rhetoric that in a lot of cases seems to hint at the fact that you're looking down upon another group of individuals, that you have a lot of hate, that you have a lot of and hate comes from somewhere, right? It doesn't just come, hate doesn't equal hate. Hate comes from fear and frustration and anger, and all of these are connected, and we often equate them on a physical, on a metaphorical level with fire, right? Burning rage. And this is what he is, and he just puts people on fire because he enjoys doing that. That's a release of energy for him. That is him living the pure, true self of what he is. 𝐏𝐢𝐏𝐿, that's the other one. That's the normal looking guy who is actually a human being. So I do wonder if this is like kind of some kind of like anti-Jujutsu sorcerer, right? Somebody who belongs to an organization, or maybe wants to found an organization, or maybe is a one-man villain just who is opposed to the sorcerers, and but on the same kind of employing the same techniques. He's just on the side of the curses, or employs the curses as his tools in order to make his goals reality. Although he might also just be part of another school, and then that is a little bit more nefarious and whatnot. That might be the case. Holy shit, that face. Yeah, and he thinks he can beat Gojo, so I wonder if that's the case. And we do have that little moment of, is she gonna make it? But we probably know she's not gonna make it, and she burns up before she can. Yeah, the little thing where Megumi is actually apologizing to the mother, and I think that's very much already shows what kind of impact Yuji has on people. And we go past that, and we see he actually took the name, well, how do you call it, the name tag of Tadashi with him after what Yuji said, despite still being in conflict about this whole thing. Proves how incredible Yuji is in his influence on other people. And now we have the training session. Bonito Flakes guy is in. And he's kind of like still ruminating on these thoughts, right, of what Yuji gave to him. Especially like this stuff has more impact on him because of him thinking actually Yuji is dead, and I can see that, right? That something like that weighs heavy on you, especially if you left with somebody, being in conflict with somebody. And they show this incredible display of self-sacrifice at the end of it. And it already shows how close they've grown to one another. And she's like, it's not like I can have my actions safe anyway. Like, I shouldn't have asked. Never mind. Just fucking. But that's her putting up a front too, I think. Like, there has to be some kind of motivation to help other people, otherwise you'd probably not be a good Jujutsu sorcerer. We have Panda training, and we're working on our techniques, right? We're both separately trying to get stronger for the other people. Gojo with his usual happy-go-lucky stuff, and I do really like that in a character, that they're not. I mean, Megumi is a really good supporting character because he's brooding. He has a lot of conflicting thoughts going on. He certainly has a lot of backstory that we still don't know about, that we could dig into in terms of psychology and everything. But Gojo is also a really cool character, because I like these characters. He's the kind of character that is a very good friend to everyone around them, who is lifting them up and kind of just connecting to anyone in some kind of way. And he's also the kind of character to easily inspire their friends, and we already see that with Nobara and especially Megumi taking action after having these couple of interactions, the short while that he's gotten to know Yuji. But yeah, he's blaming himself too, right? He says I couldn't do anything in that moment. I couldn't wake up. I need to get better with all of this. And he's like, worse, I nearly killed Fujigoro by not being there in the moment. And even though it might be unreasonable of anybody else to expect him to even stand up to Sukuna in any way, that's not what he was used to, right? The moment he swallowed the finger and Sukuna was in him, he was able to control that, and suddenly he realizes that loss of control, that powerlessness, the mere fact that he actually had to rely on Sukuna. We still don't know if it was a conscious decision of him to rely on Sukuna, or no, we do know that actually, because Megumi left the area and Yuji kind of got the signal, and he was like, okay, he left the area, I can let Sukuna take over now. Which he made the conscious decision, which makes him feel even more guilty about this whole thing, that he wasn't able to take back control because he was used to, or at least he expected he could just easily do that. And he realized it's not that easy. And this is not only a strong and powerful, but also a very cunning person that's inside of me. that's gonna give me a lot of trouble down the way. And we explained the curses, right? The curse technique and curse energy, right? Energy is like electricity. It just hurts because it's right. It's a lot of shit going through your body that is not good for you. Technique is applying it to something, right? Shaping it to your will. Gojo says you ain't gonna have that because curse techniques is something that is fundamentally etched into ourselves, right? In that case, Nobara and her nails and her voodoo dolls, probably Megumi and his using shadows, this is etched into them genetically to a degree. And it's all about just bringing that out and making it stronger and using it better. But in this case, Yuji's not gonna have that. And he's like a baby, like, I want to do what all the enemy did. Rasengan, Spirit Gun. Why can't I do this shit? I want to do a Kamehameha. And it's super funny. Because this is literally how any of us would be in this situation. But there's some information that we actually don't get, which is Gojo saying, look, in his mind, obviously, he's gonna acquire the abilities of Sukuna over time. Probably also the more fingers he gets, the more he will be able to tap into that. And the question is, will he be able to control that even outside of Sukuna taking over? And that will be the interesting thing. But yeah, we're gonna control the thing now. We're trying to explain it, but we don't immediately get it. The thing is about control, right? We had the same thing in Frieren. Temper your negative emotions, right? Experience them, yes, but control them in a way to have a constant flow of them, to not have too many fluctuations going on, so that when you actually have to use them, you can release them properly. And if you don't have to use them, you're not actually radiating them, which is gonna be very interesting for a character like Yuji, who has a lot of emotions going on. It's not just negative emotions, but he has a lot of emotions going on. And as a young boy, it's even more that, right? A young boy who's still in school, there's gonna be hormones. And I'm not just talking about sexual stuff or whatever. It's just going to be a lot of feelings that are going on inside of him in different situations that are happening. And how good he is at doing what he's doing is going to be reliant on how good his general control of his emotional flow will be like, how good he will be like at keeping the flow of curse energy constant despite having flare-ups and flare-downs in emotional energy. And he's watching movies. It's genius. I do wonder, like, I asked myself that, what's happening when he's actually bored by a movie, right? I mean, I guess these are the low phases of the cursed energy, and he still has to keep those up, right? So he has to take the power he felt when he was actually invested in a movie emotionally and move it over. I do wonder how that works on like a mechanics level. And Megumi is trying to find new ways to actually do stuff. I still don't quite get the logic in that, but apparently something clicked for Megumi where he was like, oh, I can actually phase through objects, and maybe this is how I can actually store things inside of myself. I don't know how this is gonna work. But if it helps him actually develop a technique that I'm sure we're gonna see in the tournament arc at some point, and it's gonna be really cool, then I think this is enough for me. But yeah. And he asks him, we talked about that earlier. It was like, did Sukuna want anything? And Yuji's like, I think we talked, but I don't remember. And Gojo's like, I'll take a mental note of that. And here we have the confrontation between Gojo, and I don't know the name of him. I'm pretty sure his name got mentioned, but I'm sure I'm gonna learn the name. It's gonna be fine. And I do wonder how this is gonna turn out. So let's jump to that, right? Let's get into the episode and figure out what we are about to be doing. All right, let's get started, right? Get yourselves a drink, get yourselves a nice little snack. We're gonna start the episode in a 3, a 2, a 1, a bang. Alright. Let's see. And he expected that, of course. And he doesn't know him, which is very interesting. Holy shit! Sorcery! Surprised, maybe scratched, but probably not dead. That is my guess. Cool effect, by the way. Really cool effect. Really, dude? Come on, dude. You didn't expect him to go down that easy. Yeah. Cursed spirit. Okay, that's the classification for him. Unregistered special crate. Ooh. Okay, that is setting the stakes. But he's right, like the other one said last time that he would be worth like 8 fingers, and so far we only have 2 fingers on the current schooner, so that makes sense. I really like the pace of this intro, it's really nice. And it shows a lot of cool physical metaphors kind of things. Looks to me though like our main antagonist is not gonna be the antagonist of this this season, because he's way too much in the background right now. I do love how it there's more and more people each time we see this little shot. You love the loopy nature of all of that as well. Alright. Oh, I love that effect, right? Like some reality glitch. And he's using cursed relics, right? That he's collecting, or has been collecting. Very clever. He's clever, but he's impulsive. That's one thing that I'm like, oh, come on, he is not that. Like, you do have, like... This is the second time you underestimated him, bro. He ain't dead, okay? Like, even if he's gone suddenly, I wouldn't expect him to be dead. But yeah, I think he has a lot of temperament, right? Which is very much in line with his personality stereotype kind of thing. I do like it a lot, because it clashes off very well against Gojo's calm and collectedness. Kind of playful, calm and collected, but he's also playful, right? Playful in an aggressive way, in a... right? In an energy kind of way. He wasn't living a life of truth. Is he gonna get angry? The bro's going mathematics on him. Is this gonna be a lesson though? Alright. You had my curiosity, now you have my attention. Ooh, force field kind of deal. Oh, so it's like a time dilation thing. Oh, that's cool. Bros. Yeah. He's getting him agitated. Mada mada. Ooh. Alright, this is cool. This is a cool concept, right? A bending reality almost. Ouch. This is gonna go badly for him, I guess. The predator becomes the prey. Bro ain't ready. What? Yeah, holy shit, that animation is amazing. Like the rotation shot? Holy fuck. And fire into water. 𝐏𝐢𝐏𝐏, that's his name. I doubt he's gonna die, but he's gonna have to retreat possibly, right? Or does he have an ace up his sleeve? Oh, okay, other plan. He still thinks he can win. Oh, he just brought Yuji. His head is Mount Fuji. It is, yes. Oh, there's a Lord of the Rings, holy shit, dude. Yuji actually invested. He's impressed. Ooh. The pinnacle, domain expansion. I do wonder if Gojo actually has his domain expanded all the time. If that's the case here with his, like, infinity thing. Yep, he's here to learn. Oh yes, he's gonna explode, I knew it. Oh yes. Too fucking easy. Yeah. Even more than this one, right? Because that was a fresh one. Oh, and I just remembered. He was just thinking of expanding his domain, and then Gojo's like, let's teach Yuji about domain expansion. How the fuck did he know? Alright, of course, yeah, of course that would be his domain. Cool name, cool names. Cool names all around. Alright, let me see. Tenkai. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, okay, home field advantage. Alright, let's talk about it. Alright. Alright, so he wants to actually be able to hit him. Now he wants to get him out of the way. So he's trying. He's putting himself at a disadvantage. Alright, domain against domain. Ooh. Let's see it, 𝐏𝐢𝐏, let's see it. Blue. And we have a void. I don't know how it works, but it's cool. Holy shit, this looks amazing. Limitless. Sensory overload. He's still alive. So why does he close his eyes? And he expected that, right? Oh, so he might be a traitor. The same philosophy, okay. So he's gonna get him out. And bam. Ooh. Oh, this is interesting. It's not a negative emotion, right? Technically. And he got rescued. Alright. Usually like, oh hell no, what the fuck? And fighting him. I'm sorry, Yuji. Oh yeah, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. No, you didn't. Oh yeah, I forgot. I forgot too. Alright. What's happening here? Oh, we just skip it. Alright. Oh no. Different domain? Oh, dude from the intro. Hanami. Like Hanabi? Like flowers? But he knew it was gonna get him to want to attack him. Alright. Oh, okay. They're already scheming. Curses and humans, alright. Cool. A little bit of a tease. Don't know if that's gonna be next episode, or maybe in a couple of episodes. Why is there such a bob? So very heavy on Gojo. Somewhat heavy on Yuji, although he was mostly an observer. And we learn more and more, right? Gojo coming in here, like he just doesn't give a fuck. And I love it. Alright, Jujutsu store? Alright, let me see what what the hell is happening. Calisthenics. Alright. Alright, Subaru. Oh no, they're playing soccer with his hair. Alright, let's go. Honestly, I can see those. I can see those being even more funny in the manga. Ooh, interesting. All right, boredom. Oh, that didn't look boring to me, but you know, to each their own. I'll see you guys back on YouTube. Alright, we are back and we are gonna talk about this. Now, a lot of this episode was cool fighting and cool animation, and how do I do that? I know there's a season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, that's why I do hesitate to look into Sakugaboro too often. I'm probably gonna look into it, I don't know, like halfway through the season, right at episode 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever, somewhere around that time. I'm probably gonna look into Sakugaboro and see if I can spot some really cool animation sequences, and we can go back to these various episodes and pick them out and be like, okay, this was then, this was that. We're gonna still look at the animation, of course, but yeah, we have a little bit of a recap, and then we have the confrontation. I do love this really amazing shot at the eyes themselves. Let me just speed it up as always. Impact shots, shattering ground, really basic stuff, but cool basic stuff, right? Both of them kind of being slightly in suspense. We have the close-ups, the cool close-ups with a lot of shading going on. The manipulating, right? Here we go in frame, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and we see the blurry eye and the teeth, the black teeth, which is like one of the big motives, right? And he can do sorcerer shit, right? It's a cursed spirit, but it can do sorcerer shit, and it's like gushing out on Gojo, but Gojo doesn't give a fuck. It doesn't even touch him, and we see that in a second. Number one, first time he underestimates him, thinks he's dead. He's getting annoyed, he's getting frustrated. Gojo's still smug about it, but Gojo on the inside, he knows this guy's strong. He's about, right, stronger than... He had a rough estimate. He said he's about stronger than a current Sukuna, who has 2 fingers, as I said. And but obviously we do know from the talk to Gato, or however he was called, that Gato thinks he's actually around 8 times as strong as one thing, right? As strong as 8 fingers of Sukuna, which is really, really impressive. Again, the dimensions in how we use that, it's amazing. First of all, particles flying is really cool. It adds to the atmosphere. But then we actually do have this warping of dimensions, right? His hand all the way at the camera, the rest of his body all the way back. It's really, really cool and fitting really well into the general shot that we see here. But Gojo smiling, we don't have that often. I mean, he smiles, right? But not like this, right? This is an ear-to-ear grin. Jumping past that. And he finds it fun, and this is obviously frustrating him. I do wonder if that is Gojo's honest opinion, or if this is more of a... I'm kind of just keep triggering this guy, because I do see, from the get-go, I do see he has a short fuse. He has not, like, he is not in control over his temperament. And since I know he's a cursed spirit, he comes from negative emotions. My assumption is that he comes from emotions of anger, frustration, hate, these emotions, and that these emotions, they're very hard to control to begin with. And I do see this individual, this cursed spirit, has a hard time controlling them. I do wonder if this becomes a theme for curses, right? If curses actually thematically have a hard time controlling their innate emotions, what they're made of, right? Because it literally is them. So maybe their nature is getting in their way, and this could be a very good example of, we'll talk about it. No, you know what? We'll talk about it now. This could be a very good example of functionality and dysfunctionality of emotions, both negative and positive, and behavioral patterns and general conditions, because we do see these negative emotions. They can embolden you, right? Adrenaline high, being strong, letting out energy, being intimidating, being decisive, being unpredictable. All of these things can give you an advantage in combat or in other situations, right? But we do see inherently that there is a flaw to emotions such as this if they run too wild, too rampant, and if they run too rampant, and that is that they are inherently dysfunctional, right? They can give you huge disadvantages of you underestimating your opponent, going headlessly into confrontations, not thinking about these things, being too smug about things, right? That, in my opinion, that could come from an emotion like pride. I can see that. I forgot his name. I know I read it earlier, but our cursed spirit here is actually very prideful in his nature as well. So I do wonder what negative emotions exactly he is made up of, because we do see the anger, we do see the hate, but is there pride in there as well? Might be, right? And I do wonder how it works, if these cursed spirit over time, if they just absorb more emotions, and right, and that's making them increasingly unstable. And yeah, he chooses a place devoid of people, so people can't back him up. he doesn't care about people, he cares about not being hindered in his plans. And we do find out that this is the second time he overestimates himself or underestimates his opponent, because he didn't believe in the first place that this Gojo was so strong. And that comes with this inherent belief of him being the purest form and supremacy, a belief of supremacy of himself as a pure being. And once again, he is surprised and doesn't understand how Gojo works. And Gojo's like, infinity, boom, right? It's like, like one of these memes where it's like the History Channel meme, infinity. But it's a cool concept, right? The closer people get to him, and I do assume that is just his technique either or his domain. I'm still not quite sure about making the distinction. Gojo explained some of it, but I'm not quite sure which is which and how it works exactly. But this is basically the closer you get to him, the slower you get, which could be infinite, right? At some point you're so slow that you're not making any progress whatsoever, at least not in this direction. And how do you beat that? That's very interesting. Now obviously our cursed spirit has an answer to that later on, but Gojo is like, oh, we can do this. And he's actually manipulating it in a way that he shows I can touch you, you can't touch me, right? John Cena was like, you can't see me, now get ready for Gojo's you can't touch me. Like, it's a dumb joke, I know. Very, very cool. Especially also the animation of how we once again we use the little details, right? You see it's all around him like a force field almost. And we go for the incredible impact shots and the swiftness. Like, I do love when that's done in animation, you know, right? The fuzziness of certain things. It's not his entire frame, it's not his entire character, it's actually only the arm that is fuzzy here. Boom, and we go in and we play with him. Okay, I love that, right? Let's go. Turns around while he's being suspended. This shows like the incredible speed at which this is happening, and then we go in for the kick. Bam! Right. Yeah, and that's really cool just how this animation is done in general. Infinity is everywhere. My Jujutsu just brings it forward into reality, making something out of infinity. It's very interesting. Convergence, divergence. A lot of this seems like mumbo jumbo to me, but it's all cool concepts, right? Infinity, divergence, convergence. Curse technique reversal red. Interesting. Really cool. And now he's starting to hunt. Right, face on, hand on the face, boom. Throwing him into the water. He's like, you know what, Jugo, that was his name. And he's basically, I thought he was gonna just dip out, but he doesn't know when to stop. Again, an interesting aspect possibly about these curses. Dysfunctional behavior. You don't know when to quit because you're so deep in, right? And your personality traits are frustration, anger, pride, right? And this is a big aspect of all of this. It plays into that, right? You need to keep in mind how he's feeling in that very moment, right? He's feeling defeated. He's feeling shattered in his own worldviews. He feels like humiliated, exactly, right? Humiliated. He can't let that sit on him. And while this is like an extreme example of a cursed spirit, right? Just the amalgamation of negative emotions, we can equate that to actual humans. Right? Why are people going into fights despite maybe not necessarily having to do that, or despite there being negative consequences in the end, either them losing or maybe getting arrested or whatnot? It is because somebody possibly hurt their pride, or they are really frustrated by something. They feel inferior, or they feel humiliated, even though the person being opposite of you might not intend to humiliate you, but by doing something and showing that they're better than you, that they're stronger than you, in your mind at least, this is a humiliation you can't let stand. And where does that come from? It comes from feelings of insufficiency, feelings of insecurity, right? A problem with your own self-confidence. And we do have that a lot in people who are who have made negative experiences that can come from being discriminated against. And we think about curses, right? You are a cursed individual, you have your own awareness and whatnot, but people are hunting you for what you are. They're not hunting you for your necessary just for your actions, but just for the very nature of your being. And how do you feel about that, right? And then you feel bad about yourself as a person, right? And when you keep constantly getting, or when people of your race or of your group are constantly being humiliated and defeated by these jujutsu sorcerers, then obviously, right, there's certain complexes you develop. And you can see that metaphorically in this way if you want to, right? There's a certain truth to that. It rings true, this pure negative emotion that this person is displaying here, that can be functional in certain limited situations, but becomes dysfunctional if this is all that is to you, if this is all that you are working on, right? And it becomes a problem in reality too, right? You are being defeated by somebody and you feel humiliated, right? Maybe in an actual fair contest. And you feel that it's unfair that this person is so much stronger than you, but because maybe you don't get why they are so much stronger than you. And what do? You start fighting underhanded. That's like one of the most classic plots when it comes to various kind of media. Be that movies, be that TV series or whatnot, right? You have that antagonist, a character who might be a little bit of a jerk and realizes at some point, because he has trained a lot, that he is the strongest in the area, and he starts bullying the main protagonist or something like that, right? And he's the bad guy, right? But that kind of behavior that comes from somewhere, that comes either from learning that from adults that treated the person in question like this in the past, or maybe just a feeling of helplessness in other situations, in other kinds of in other situations in their lives, in other moments, and that transfers itself to different situations where you start hurting someone else because you yourself have been hurt in the past. And then and at some point maybe that person stands up for themselves and you realize you're not as strong as you thought you'd be. And then the problem that starts happening is that you feel helpless. You do feel insignificant again. You are back in that mode that you were before you started hurting other people, when you yourself were hurt, and then it triggers you again, right? And then it starts, you start going down a dark route. But yeah, I mean, that is a very simplified version of that, a very stereotypical one as well, but it's a very, very tropey plot to be used in general. But it's very interesting to see it from a perspective that is not necessarily that tropey, stereotypical plot, but rather we take all of these elements, these emotions, these actions, and we put them into a being, right? A being that is just made out of these negative emotions, which is super interesting. And kind of low-key explains how he is, how he's behaving in this very fight. He can't back down because this is a humiliation for him, and he just needs to keep going and keep making it happen. However he manages to do it, he doesn't manage to do it, but obviously he's starting to get creative here. I found it very interesting that Gojo was like, okay, let's show him about innate domains. How did he know he was gonna conjure up that innate domain? How Jugo was gonna conjure that up? I don't know, right? Maybe he just guessed. That is creepy. That is unnatural. But yeah, he's so superior. Nice Lord of the Rings reference, by the way. Really cool, really cool. And yeah, we're taking Yuji here for a visual demonstration And I guess like Jugo starts wondering if they know about their plans, but he actually doesn't. Gojo's just like, you know what, this is a good opportunity to teach him. And he's like, you're weak. And he knows he's pushing his buttons. He knows he's pushing his buttons. He wants that, right? Because then he knows the innate domain, like the domain expansion is going to get triggered and he can teach Yuji about it. So he's like, stay close, we're going to be fine. I do wonder if Yuji is actually not, but because Jugo actually said normally people are burning up. Are burning up when they are just in my domain. Yuji is not doing that, at least not, right? Not continuously. I don't know if that was just an imagination or if it wasn't, if it was true. But either way, he's fine here. I do wonder if this is Gojo protecting him, or if it's actually Yuji's natural talent or Sukuna's right mumbo jumbo that's going on here. Why he is fine anyway. But yeah, well, we're going up against that, and I want to actually look into that one more time, because that the techniques input in the domain are guaranteed to hit within that domain, right? Yeah. Several ways to deal with it. So let us actually go into that and see what ways there are. You can take the hit using a curse technique like just now. Okay, right? You're basically countering, right? You're using force to dispel force in this case, if you're strong enough. I don't really recommend this one, but you can go outside the domain. That's usually impossible. All right, that is also a possibility. Okay, and then we have, yeah, and he's like, if I neutralize that infinity of yours with dense domain, then my techniques will reach you, right? He wants to neutralize the technique that Gojo is using, and Gojo's like, yeah, you're not wrong, but what I can do is just snap my finger and expand mine, and then the one that's more strong is actually gonna prevail, which is what he's doing. And those beautiful eyes, they look kind of like what this looks like to me is a full moon in a clear dark sky. That is how it looks to me from like a general, right? You have the clouds around that, and then you have the moon in the middle. Obviously you have the iris, which is kind of breaking the point, but either way, this is kind of how it looks to me, but it's beautiful either way, like these steel blue, cold blue eyes, which is, yeah, I mean, I love that. Very, very rare, by the way. Just like, I mean, most eyes are brown or grayish, I think. Yeah, and suddenly we're in infinity. I love that image, right? With the woods like just mirroring themselves. And what I love even more is, that was not the purpose of that. Yeah, what I love even more than that is this here, right? These white dots, right? These white paint spaces that are basically just drawn over the picture. It's really cool artistically. I love that. It's like blood spatters, but white out, negative space basically, right? Like almost inverted color style. And he's just within infinity. I don't get it completely, but it's really, really cool, and it sets the stakes, right? First of all, they don't die when they lose their head. Interesting. The second thing is just it sets the stakes for how powerful Gojo really is in comparison to everyone else. And he's like, I can't people from school see my face, so that tells me that he probably is somebody from the school or from an opposing school. So yeah, gonna be very interesting in the future when we see that betrayal happening. And we have this curse here. Don't know if male or female. Hana something. Something with flowers, definitely. And he's way creepier than... He says he, so I assume it's an he. Way creepier than Volcano Heads. And Itadori is like, I'm sorry, they managed to escape because of me, but then again, you brought me here, right? So... But Gojo doesn't even worry about that. He's like, this is getting interesting. I love his approach. Like he's just so nonchalant about everything. Just he's just the coolest dude in the room, in every room. But he's like, all right, you're gonna fight against me, and we're gonna train you up for the tournament. And you just like, hey, Gojo Sensei, what tournament? What exchange? Gojo's like, oh, did I forget to tell you? But yeah, that's a goober moment. And he's late. I wonder if he even showed up. And here we're going into somewhat of an innate domain. I don't know if it's an innate domain or some other weird supernatural space, but it is what it is. And we're talking a little bit that we do have a plan set up to put ourselves at an advantage against Gojo, and then we're gonna imprison him. We can't defeat him. We already given up on that. October 31st in Shibuya, in Tokyo. Mahito, that's his name. Okay, Mahito. Yeah, cool beans. I guess next time will be the tournament. We have that little soccer reference. Like I said, I can imagine those being hilarious in the manga. They're still funny here, but I feel like jokes like these, they're best on the manga panel. They're just fucking amazing. I love shows who do that. But it's cool that they include that in the anime, that we kind of get to know it a little bit, even if it's just partially, get that feeling of the little joke segments that we have in there. That has been Jujutsu Kaisen episode 7. And with that, I'll bring it to a close for today. Guys and girls, if you did enjoy this video, please leave me a like, subscribe to the channel for more content coming hopefully soon. Jujutsu Kaisen, like I said, is a little bit irregular, but it's gonna come. It's gonna come once a month, and it's gonna be at least 2 episodes a month. It's gonna be fine. Other than that, check out the Discord, check out the Patreon. Like I said before, Patreon is 2 weeks early access for Made in Abyss most of the time, 1 week for Jujutsu Kaisen whenever I upload it, which is gonna be once a month, right? So if you see this on the YouTube on public, it's probably, there's gonna be the next episode. No, actually, this is episode 7. So if you saw episode 6, the next episode's gonna be like this episode's gonna be on Patreon right now, and possibly if you see 7, 8 might be on Patreon. Sometimes I do an additional episode only if I actually find the time to do so. Check out my friend reactions, check out Made in Abyss. Other than that, I'll see you on the next one. Terminus out.